A very good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this amazing session on the art of eating at the right time. Consistent meal timing plays a crucial role in helping our bodies develop those reliable hunger cues so that we are better able to identify and respond to them in a way to that suits our body needs. Miss Maitreyi Bokil, a nutritionist and an exercise physiologist, is with us today to lead us through this journey. Maitreyi is a highly qualified and dedicated professional in the field of nutrition and exercise physiology with a master's degree from Columbia University in New York City. Maitreyi has the knowledge and expertise to help people of all ages improve their dietary habits and overall health through personal counseling and dietary and exercise planning. In addition to her work as a nutritionist and exercise physiologist, Maitreyi is also an avid and committed athlete. She has completed a full Ironman, multiple Ironman, 70.3 events, and a full marathon, demonstrating her dedication to her own health and wellness. A warm welcome to you, Maitreyi, and the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much for that, Venkat, and a very good afternoon to everybody. Thank you so much for willing to spend your Friday afternoon with me, giving yourself a chance to think about your health, your fitness, or at least start initiating that conversation in your head. Thank you so much for that lovely welcome too. I really appreciate being here with all you guys. Today, we're going to talk about the art of eating at the right time and how to eat so that we can maximize the health benefits obtained from eating the right foods at the right time. A little bit, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself once again, though I know Venkat has already done such a good job at it. I'm a nutritionist and exercise physiologist. I work from Pune, where I conduct both in-person and virtual client appointments. I work with clients for their weight gain, muscle gain, weight loss, obesity, if you have PCOS, if you're type 2 diabetic, if you are generally suffering from obesity, hypertension, and any chronic health issue related concerns which can be addressed nutritionally. I'm also a sports nutritionist. I work with junior athletes. I work with age group athletes and masters athletes in a wide range of sports like badminton, tennis, football, weightlifting, Olympic lifting, triathletes, runners, and so on. My Instagram handle is Maitreyi_health because everything nowadays happens on Instagram. So you can find me there. I'm also a recreational athlete. I love running. I've done a couple of marathons. I do triathlons. I'm a recreational triathlete. I've done 3 half Ironmans, as we call them, 70.3 distance triathlons. I've also qualified for the World Championship by coming first in my age group in the same race. And I've also attempted successfully a full Ironman. So today we're going to talk about what is it that is eating well on time? What is it that controls the rate at which we eat, the time at which we eat? How does our body feel hungry? Why does our body feel full? Why does our body sleep at night? What prompts it to wake up in the morning and then start our day? So we are going to talk about what is the body clock or what is the circadian rhythm? What are the factors that impacts our body clock? What are the various hormones controlled by the circadian rhythm? How to eat well and how to exercise to optimize our health. If you are somebody who is working at night or prefers to unwind only at night after a very busy day at work, if you are somebody who travels across time zones for work and you feel like your hunger cues, your satiety cues, your sleep cues are a little bit out of whack, how do we get them back on track using food and exercise? If you are somebody who thinks that time restricted feeding, very popularly known as intermittent fasting, is a convenient way to eat for you. You eat a couple of times a day and then you don't have to think about food for the rest of the day. How can we make that better? How can you eat well in those couple of times that you're eating so that you're actually working towards your health instead of maybe unintentionally working against it? After that, I will open the floor to any relevant questions and answers. And I know that some of you all will also have questions in the chat. So I request Venkat and maybe Shiva to just keep an eye on the chat, because as I'm talking, in the PowerPoint, I don't think I have. I'm not that multi-skilled to also then look at the chat box. Yeah, thank you guys. So we start off with, what is the body clock, or what is the circadian rhythm? Now, I'm sure everybody has heard of this age-old adage from a well-wishing neighbor, friend, brother, sister, parent, that, in order to be healthy, you must breakfast like a king, have lunch like a prince, and have dinner like a pauper. If you don't do that, then you're not going to be healthy. But nowadays, when everything happens after dinner, it's very important that we actually talk about what happens after dinner. So generally, I have in my practice, I know that people would have three kinds of health goals. You may want to improve your overall health in terms of reducing your predisposition to type 2 diabetes, hypertension, obesity, keeping your risk of cancer at bay, keeping your risk of autoimmune conditions like psoriasis or hypothyroidism, or even arthritis at bay, keeping your risk of any heart related conditions if you have family history of heart attacks at bay, stroke at bay. So that is an important goal. Nowadays, people also want to be aesthetically pleasing. So they would like to gain weight, gain muscle, they would like to lose weight. The third category is people who have an athletic goal, because I know a lot of us have, are taking up athletics in our second innings, and we're enjoying playing a sport in our free time. We're enjoying running, we're enjoying swimming, cycling, sometimes even competitively. So in that case, you may have a goal which revolves around improving your athletic performance in terms of reducing fatigue, increasing muscle power, and so on. Also, what I have realized is that all of these three goals are not very efficient unless you look at your food timings, and more importantly, you look at your meal timings. So what is it that controls our meal timings? It is called as the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is basically the body's physiological response to the sleep and the wake, or the darkness and the light that that happens in the background, in the environment outside us. So biologically, it is a very small part in our brain called as a suprachiasmatic nucleus. So it basically has 20,000 neurons which branch out everywhere, sending signals through our body. Now, the way the suprachiasmatic nucleus gets its signals, in order to send its signals, is through our eyes, optic nerves. So when we are looking at light, it is automatically stimulating that very small part of our brain to release the hormone which is going to stimulate us to be up and awake and alert. Versus if it is darkness, and we're looking out of our balcony at night when it's basically pitch dark, or we enter a room which is pitch dark, it's going to stimulate the brain to release the hormone which is going to promote relaxation and sleep and basically unwinding. Now, the beauty is there is definitely one master clock up there in the brain, but every cell located in every tissue, every muscle also has its own body clock. And this is called as chronobiology. So the beauty here is not only do we have one master clock in the brain, but every cell of every tissue has its own small clock which goes in tandem with this master clock. Now, why is this so important? Because cells that make up various glands release chemical substances called hormones in our body, which then regulate all our body processes. How do we use the food we eat? How much energy do we burn in a given activity? What is the rate at which we fall asleep? Why are we so hungry? Why are we getting full so quickly? All of that is regulated by hormones, which are released by glands which have their own body clock. So today we're going to talk about important hormones which influence basically our meal timings. So this is just a pictorial representation of something we all know. If we have a healthy biological clock, aka if we sleep on time and we wake up feeling refreshed, then we're going to feel hungry on time. We're going to have good bowel movements. We're going to eat the right things. We're not going to feel like eating anything and everything. We're not going to feel lazy and dull through the day. We're going to have a lot of energy, feel very productive, have great energy to exercise, and so on. Versus if we sleep late, if we wake up too early, not having had enough sleep, or if we wake up too late, a little grouchy and grumpy, then our days may not go as planned. We may not feel full, even if we're eating the right kinds of foods. Then our mind is going to wander towards, eating all kinds of foods. We're not going to feel like exercising. Our productivity at work may be hampered. We may need a couple of cups of coffee more than we would otherwise to get through a productive day at work. So I'm sure we all know this. I just have this pictorial representation here. Now let's talk about the various important hormones regulated by the circadian rhythm. The chief hormone which regulates our entire body clock is called melatonin. This is the sleep stimulating hormone. So obviously it is released when it is dark. Peak secretion of this hormone occurs between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and that coincides with our deepest sleep time. So obviously when it is light, the body produces less melatonin. When it is dark, the body produces more melatonin. So the secretion of melatonin will start once the sun sets. Peak secretion will be around 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Obviously, if we know somebody, definitely not us, who looks at their phones when they're falling asleep, or if we're spending too much time on the screen, the secretion of melatonin is getting disrupted because our screens are light. There's white light emitting from the screens, which is causing a little bit of the disruption there. The second most important hormone is cortisol. Now, all of us, or some of us, may know this as the bad hormone or the stress hormone. So it is definitely released in times of stress. What cortisol does is, when we are stressed, it releases a lot of sugar in our blood. It prompts the liver, it prompts the muscle, it prompts the fat stores to convert basically everything into sugar and release it into our blood. This is because in prehistoric times, when human beings were stressed, it meant running away from a tiger or running away from a forest fire or something like that. Basically, either you take flight or you fight. But nowadays, what's happened is we are stressed sitting in front of our computers. We are stressed dealing with something at home, and we're not doing too much physical activity. But there is a lot of sugar in our blood. The good thing about cortisol is that it promotes us to wake up. We wake up in the morning because cortisol releases a certain amount of sugar in the blood, which promotes us to wake up and then get through our day. As we cross our day, levels of cortisol will reduce and levels of melatonin will increase. Peak secretion of cortisol is in the morning between 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and the lowest secretion is obviously at night between 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., which coincides with the rise of melatonin. If you keep secreting cortisol all the time, if you're stressed all the time, your body secretes cortisol all the time. Imagine that there's a lot of sugar in the blood. So it's definitely going to reduce your insulin sensitivity. It's going to increase weight gain. It's going to cause restlessness, insomnia, and anxiety. So this is again a pictorial representation of the opposing or antagonistic nature of the two chief hormones of our biological clock, melatonin, which promotes sleep, and cortisol, which promotes the feeling of wakefulness. What else? Insulin is also an extremely important hormone. A lot of us have heard about insulin in relation to type 2 diabetes, but it is the main hormone which is responsible for regulating blood sugar levels. When you eat food which has carbohydrate and protein, which basically increase your blood sugar levels, insulin is that hormone which takes up the sugar and puts it either in the muscle cells or in the fat cells, depending on how active we are. So if we are not active and we're eating food which promotes the rise of insulin, it's going to store the food as fat. So it becomes a fat storing hormone. Insulin sensitivity is highest in the afternoon, somewhere around between 12 to 1 p.m. And insulin sensitivity reduces with reduced sleep. Now think about this. When was the last time that you got a good 8 hours of sleep? So at the baseline, you are insulin resistant. Your body is not able to use the sugar in its blood effectively just because you haven't slept. I mean, that is the most easily modifiable factor out there. Sleep well, and that's your first step to good health. Let's talk about ghrelin. How many times have we felt this grr in our stomach. We feel our stomach growling. And then, and then you suddenly step away from the computer and realize how hungry you actually are. And then, you go in search of food because your stomach is growling. Yes, it is also secreting a growling hormone called ghrelin. So ghrelin is your hunger hormone. It is secreted by your stomach cells when it is time to eat. Now, when you are out of whack with your circadian rhythm, suppose you sleep very late, suppose you get up too late or you get up too early, not having slept enough, you may realize that you wake up feeling a little bit more hungry, but you don't feel hungry for roti sabji or salad. You feel hungry for the mithai, or you feel hungry for chocolate, or you feel hungry for chips. That is because of the misalignment of circadian rhythms. Your hunger hormone, the ghrelin, has increased its secretion. And you would think after a meal, ghrelin levels go down. They actually do. But if you haven't slept well, if you're not well rested, if you work too hard at night, then your ghrelin levels or the hunger hormone is going to stay high, even post meal. This may promote you to eat more than you should. Let's talk about leptin. Leptin is exactly the opposite of ghrelin. It's the good hormone, right? It promotes feeling of satiety. It promotes feeling of satisfaction. Now, leptin is a hormone which is produced by our fat cells. It is released when it is time to stop eating. If your body does not need calories, there is more of the satiety hormone being secreted because the body is saying, I don't need all this. I'm full. I don't need to eat. So you feel full and you don't need to eat. That's the beauty of ghrelin. Now, because it's secreted by the fat cells, you would think that the secretion of ghrelin would increase with increase in fat cells. Tell me this. All of us at some stage or the other have ignored that little signal sent by our body when we're eating to stop eating. If it's our favorite food, if we're eating in front of our colleagues, if we're distracted from the food that we're eating and looking at the television, we have definitely ignored that cue. Every body tells its master to stop eating when it's full. But what does the master do when the master is preoccupied? He or she will ignore those cues and continue eating. So then what happens is, if you continue eating, you're going to put on weight. That means your fat cells are going to increase and they will release more and more leptin. But then what happens? Your body stops being receptive to it because you're ignoring the leptin cue. Your body starts ignoring the leptin cues altogether and you develop something called as leptin resistance. So in people who are overweight or obese, the secretion of leptin may be high, but the recognition of leptin by the body is low and it's called as leptin resistance. Now, if you don't sleep well, if you have worked too hard at night, what will happen is your leptin secretion, there is definitely leptin resistance, but you may wake up and you may try your best to eat healthy, to exercise, to be active, but you would still not feel very satisfied. Because this is what happens when we are out of whack from our circadian rhythms. Irrespective of how hard we're trying to regulate our food intake, how hard we're trying to exercise, how hard we're trying to be active, we will not get that feeling of satiety, which may prompt us to eat a samosa or grab a bag of chips and so on. So this is again a pictorial representation of leptin and ghrelin. When you are hungry, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, is lighter than leptin, so it's at the bottom end of the seesaw. And when you are full, leptin is the heavier hormone, and that is at the bottom of the seesaw. So just, you don't have to remember these things. This is just an informative session. Adiponectin is a very, very important hormone because it is the fat burning hormone. So it regulates the rate at which we burn fat. It regulates the rate at which we burn carbohydrates. It improves the levels of insulin. Fat burning is highest in the morning, guys, between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and is lowest at night, post 8 a.m. Definitely, disrupted circadian rhythm reduces the secretion of fat burning hormones. So that's what happens. What else affects our circadian rhythms? We know this, jet lags, night shifts, light from electronic devices. All of this is going to disrupt the secretion of all the hormones that we discussed. Melatonin, cortisol, leptin, ghrelin, adiponectin, insulin, they all are going to go out of whack, which then is going to play with your food cycle, which is going to determine what are the food choices that you would be making. Just a quick recap: health goals, be it general health, be it weight loss, weight gain, or be it athletic performance, are very important, largely regulated with meals and meal timings. Circadian rhythm is body's biological response to light and darkness. The circadian rhythm determines the secretion and controls the rate of various important hormones, which influence the rate at which we eat, the rate, when we stop eating, how our bowel movements are, how we feel through the day. Very important hormones are melatonin and cortisol. Then we have the insulin, leptin, ghrelin, and the fat burning hormone adiponectin, all of which get disrupted if we don't sleep on time. Moving on to the next part. This is actually the meat and potatoes of the session as to what to do. Now, if you are somebody who cannot help their late night shift or who cannot help traveling, what to do? How do we optimize health in terms of nutrition and exercise for our benefit? This is the best part of the presentation. I love talking about exercise. What is the role of exercise? Exercise increases the expression of the fat burning gene. So it increases the rate of fat burning. It improves insulin sensitivity. It reduces the secretion of stress hormone. It reduces the secretion of hunger hormone. So this might actually seem funny because you would tell me that, hey, I went for a run or I went to the gym and now I'm feeling so hungry. Absolutely. You will feel hungry. But over time, if you continue the behavior of eating healthy through the day, not starving before your pre-workout, eating a good pre-workout meal, exercising well, eating well after workout, you will see that your hunger levels are controlled over time. And that is the beauty of exercise. It acts basically as the chief regulator. And it is no surprise that however bad you're feeling when you enter the gym, however cross you're feeling with the traffic is bad, the work has been bad, this is bad, that is bad, after a workout, you will always step out from the gym feeling calm, relaxed. Suddenly you will think the world is not such a bad place to live in. So exercise increases feeling of well-being, which is why we feel like exercising, every time, because it just makes us feel so good. So this is just a pictorial representation of exercise saying exactly the same things. Now, what is the role of exercise in regulating our body clock? This is very interesting. It actually, being physically active and engaging in exercise, increases the alignment of the body with sleep and dark cycles. So when it is when it is sunset, you will feel like, okay, I need to unwind now. And when you wake up in the morning, you will wake up with so much energy that you'll just have to pull yourself to the gym and or do your designated workout for the day. Exercise increases the secretion of melatonin. It reduces over time the secretion of stress hormone or cortisol. And like I discussed earlier, exercise regulates appetite. Food wise, how to eat for optimal health. Now, if you remember, I said that cortisol promotes us to wake up. And what it does is it releases a little bit of sugar in the blood, which promotes us to wake up. Which is why when you wake up, you don't necessarily need to gravitate towards a biscuit, which is high in sugar, or tea with sugar, or something else with sugar when you wake up. You already have sugar in your blood, which is why you've woken up. You can eat a good source of healthy fat, like you can have nuts, you can have unsweetened nut butter if you like that. You could have chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds. This is a good way to start your day. Because insulin sensitivity, or the rate at which carbohydrates are regulated, is higher at noon than it is at night, because fat burning is higher in the morning than it is at night. I usually request everybody to eat the majority of their carbohydrates during the day instead of eating them at night. The last meal of the day, which is obviously dinner, I usually suggest keep the same amount of carbohydrates but change the composition. So you can increase the fiber content. So add more raw salad, add lentils and beans, add millets. The net carbohydrate quantity can be the same, but because it has so much fiber in it, the rate at which blood sugar is going to increase is going to be regulated with the fiber. Your protein, a lot of us think that, we can have a lot of protein at night because we probably have time to cook and eat all the protein at night. So, and that's fine. Your body does not digest all that protein at night just because you have time to eat it at night. It is usually recommended to keep your protein constant through the day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, if you are a vegetarian, so I've just done a quick bifurcation into how to eat optimally if you're a vegetarian versus how to eat optimally if you're a non-vegetarian. Obviously, we're not going into your diet. We are just listing a series of general guidelines here. So the first step remains the same. I will always say start your day with some good fat coming from nuts, seeds, or unsweetened nut butter. Your breakfast could be, keep the protein portion the same. Protein options for vegetarians can be yogurt or dahi. They can be paneer or tofu. If you're a vegetarian who eats eggs, then eggs are included in this combination. Protein can be eaten with a source of complex carbohydrate like poha, dosa, idli, parathas which have been made in the healthy way. So you want to make sure that you're eating this versus eating something like a biscuit or eating the rusk, the ready-made. Anything ready-made is going to have a lot of additives and a lot of flavorings which promote you to keep eating, which are basically going to promote reductions in the satiety hormone and increase in the hunger hormone. So you just want to be careful of that. Your lunch can be, again, the protein portion stays the same. Just because at lunch, our insulin sensitivity is higher, our fat burning is higher. So we can eat both roti and rice with sabzi and salad. Make sure you're eating a portion of protein along with it. Dinner can be, we come to a snack. A snack can be a fruit or dried fruits with nuts. So this combination will ensure that your blood sugar, which would otherwise just spike after eating a sugar or eating a fruit or dried fruits, doesn't spike like that. There is a slow increase because fat and fiber will slow down the release of blood sugar. In this case, we're having fat in the evening, so a fruit and nuts, or dry fruit with nuts, or a dry with 2 teaspoons of unsweetened nut butter or seeds. Dinner can be, basically the carbohydrate quantity stays the same. You're just increasing the fiber. So I have said either have roti or have rice, have a big bowl of thick dal or any lentils and beans of your choice, and salad. Okay, this doesn't have to be fancy salad. It could just be cucumber, carrots, beetroot, radish, just your basic fibrous, wholesome salad with some lime sprinkled on it. Remember to keep the protein portion the same, be it paneer, be it tofu, or be it yogurt. So this is then we have just a pictorial representation of everything in the table form that we discussed. If you are a non-vegetarian, you start the day the same. You started with some good fat. Then just everything else is the same. You just have protein. Your protein options are different. So they could be eggs, they could be cheese, they could be yogurt, they could be dahi, or they could be paneer or tofu. But remember, non-vegetarians can always eat the vegetarian proteins. So we add them in this combination as well. And if you're eating eggs, then you're also taking care of your vitamin D. Lunch, we choose one of the proteins. We can have both rice or roti, or whatever you don't have to have rice and roti. You can have millet roti, you can have a jawar roti, bajra roti, you can have black rice, red rice, whatever. The point is, slightly higher carbohydrates can be consumed for lunch just because insulin sensitivity and fat burning is higher. The snack remains the same. I've just added a cheese sandwich here. So a slice of bread with a slice of cheese would also serve as a good snack. At night, as always, you must try and increase the portion of fiber in your diet so your blood sugar doesn't really go too high. Insulin sensitivity is not that high at night. You don't want to sleep with a bunch of sugar in your blood. That just has no value, especially when you're sleeping. Just a table saying exactly the same things. If you are somebody who, like I said earlier, who prefers to do time-restricted feeding, more popularly known as intermittent fasting, then how should you do it? If you are somebody who prefers eating 2 meals a day, because I know even that is a very popular plan which people follow, I usually recommend eat your first meal after 8 a.m. in the morning. So remember, cortisol secretion happens between 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. So you already wake up with a lot of, with certain amount of sugar in your blood, which has prompted you to wake up. So then wait for that secretion to go down, and then you can have your breakfast containing some good protein, complex carbohydrate, preferably no added sugar, because you're already having sugar in your complex carbohydrates, post 8 a.m. And then your second meal, which is the last meal of your day, could be 4 hours before bedtime. This can have a slightly higher amount of fiber, some great proteins and vegetables, for vitamins and minerals. Have it 4 hours before bedtime, because it usually takes between 4 to 6 hours for food to get digested or semi-digested. If you are somebody who does the 16-8 diet, which is very popular in the intermittent fasting situation, I know that 3 meals, a lot of people have 3 main meals in the eating window. Now, what happens is, if you're only eating 3 meals over 8 hours, you could maybe mistakenly eat heavier portions of those 3 meals, which could prompt very high increases in your blood sugar and a lot of insulin to be released. So if you don't want that, I would say have 3 meals plus a snack in your 8-hour window. Make sure that you do your workout somewhere in the middle of that 8-hour window. Doing a fasted workout on a 16-8 diet is not really going to give you too many benefits. It would just make you tired and not looking forward to the exercise. So you're better off exercising in a fed state so that you do full justice to your session in the gym. Okay. So again, I have reiterated this last point, that your last meal should have the smallest serving of carbohydrate and fat, and the largest serving of fiber. Please keep the protein constant. Now, having said that, this is ideal. But if you are somebody who works for a company and Indian timings are night timings, if you are somebody who travels a lot, who is pretty often jet lagged, if you are someone who unwinds with their family only at night after a very busy day at work, so what can you do in your control to make sure that you're still healthy, even though your circadian rhythm may be a little bit out of whack? So this is just a pictorial representation of what happens. You are ideally a little bit more susceptible to lifestyle-oriented conditions like type 2 diabetes. You do have higher risks of a cardiovascular event, but can be easily corrected if you eat in line with your hormones and reduce all those risks. So what do we do? So food-wise, try eating foods which increase the secretion of melatonin, because that is the chief regulatory hormone. If you eat foods higher in melatonin, you will ensure that you sleep well. At whatever time you're sleeping, your sleep will not be disrupted. So if you are a non-vegetarian person, then you can eat a higher amount of fish and eggs. If you are vegetarian, pistachios have a higher amount of melatonin. So having a handful of pistachios during dinner in your evening snack will work. You can also eat black rice, brown rice, capsicum, mushrooms, tomatoes, kidney beans, any sprouted lentils or beans will also do the trick. If none of this works for you, you could, after consulting your physician, consider a very small amount of over-the-counter supplementation of melatonin, and keep consulting with your physician and slowly increase it. Don't go by yourself and buy like a 10 mg melatonin tablet. So that may not be ideal. We have to talk about our gut health, because I feel like we have a person inside us living in our large intestine, and that person is called our gut microbiome. We have 100 trillion microorganisms living in our large intestine. They code for so many genes which are responsible for almost all of our bodily functions. They influence the rate at which we eat, what kinds of food we eat, when do we feel sleepy, how much energy we have, what are our bowel movements. So they will determine everything. So we must know that when we fall out of whack with our circadian rhythm, the population of microorganisms in our large intestine starts changing, and so-called good bacteria will increase, and the bad bacteria will increase and good bacteria will reduce. So the bad bacteria are the ones which are going to increase the secretion of our hunger hormones, and then they're going to prompt us to want to eat the foods we should not be eating. So it's very easy to look after our gut health at the very superficial level. You want to eat foods which are higher in probiotics and prebiotics. Probiotics are food groups which already have live bacterial cultures in them, like yogurt, dahi, idli dosa, pickles. In the Western diet, you have sauerkraut and kimchi, and basically any fermented food is a good idea to eat, especially around dinner time. Prebiotics are those foods which contain a lot of fiber. This fiber has not been digested by the human body, but it serves as very good fodder for the microorganisms living in our large intestine. And this fiber can come from whole wheat, it can come from brown rice, it can come from oats, it can come from fruits, namely apple and unripe bananas, and it can come from all your basic green leafy vegetables and cauliflower and cabbage and string beans. So you want to make sure that you're eating a slightly higher amount of prebiotics and probiotics. Physical activity wise, what can we do physical activity wise? So please remember that here we're talking only for those people who have difficulty falling asleep, or who don't wake up feeling refreshed, and who have demanding jobs, especially towards the later half of the day. Then it is suggested to engage in easy relaxation activities in the evening. So keep your easy walks, and easy swim, and easy stroll in the park at night. So it promotes the secretion of melatonin, or rather does not disturb the secretion of melatonin. It's not stressful. Anytime we are stressed at night, melatonin is going to get disturbed and the stress hormone secretion is going to increase. You want to keep the HIIT training, the high intensity cardio, the heavy weight lifting, you want to keep it to the earlier part of the day, which then promotes the stress hormone release, and you're awake and alert, and you can go about your day with a higher level of wakefulness. In terms of other techniques, you can engage in everything towards the later half of the day, which involves you shutting your eyes or drawing attention away from your eyes. It can be closing your eyes, meditating, it could be deep breathing, pranayam, yoga. It could also be listening to an audiobook, because sometimes a visual book, sometimes a Kindle or an actual book can also make us excited if the story is too good. So that's how we do it. Yes, I know this is a very important point, and it was suggested by one of you guys that I should include as to what exactly should we order at work, because I know that can happen. So here are my suggestions. If you're vegetarian, you can order whole wheat paneer or tofu wraps. If you're not a wrap person, you can order a paneer sandwich. If you're somebody who eats eggs, order an egg sandwich, order a veg sandwich, preferably whole wheat bread. If you're a rice person, you can order plain rice instead of every time ordering something like biryani. You can order plain roti instead of ordering like tandoori roti or butter naan, or all of that. Always have a protein side in all your meals. So it can be something like a paneer tikka, it can be a tofu starter, or it can be yogurt. And it can be dry sabzi instead of ordering like one of those sabzis which are heavily laden with gravy and oil and so on. That would be my suggestion for things to order at work. If you are non-vegetarian, then you can have a whole wheat wrap, you can have an egg wrap, you can have a whole wheat chicken wrap, you can have a whole wheat paneer wrap, because like I said, non-vegetarians can always eat the vegetarian protein too. You can have a chicken sandwich, you can have an egg mayo sandwich. Please continue to order the plain rice, plain roti with a protein side. It can be tandoori chicken or chicken tikka, or it can be any of your local dry meat preparations, or it can just be an omelette with a dry sabzi or a salad if you're ordering from a credible restaurant where you know the hygiene standards. Snacks to carry to work, because this is just stuff that you can order for lunch and dinner. What are the snacks to carry to work which are on the healthier side? You can definitely carry protein bars. I've given you two popular brands in India which are available across all the grocery stores. You could carry yogurt. Nowadays, I know they have those small packaged yogurts. Just make sure they don't have fruit at the bottom, because then that's too much added sugar. Yogurt is a high protein snack, can be eaten at any time of the day, as long as it is unflavored. If you are somebody who is receptive to something like a protein shake, because almost all of us don't get enough good quality protein, then I highly recommend carrying a scoop of protein. It could be plant-based protein, it could be milk protein, also called as whey protein. You can carry that to work. Always carry a bag of nuts, almonds, walnuts, unsalted to work. You could also carry dried fruits like dates, figs, or raisins. But just remember, a dried fruit is a fruit where the water has been removed. So the sugar content is actually a little bit higher. So I usually recommend eating fruits or dried fruits with nuts, so that the blood sugar rise, like I said, is a little bit controlled. Moving on, just a recap of everything we discussed. We're almost there. I started with speaking about the importance of meal timings and the importance of eating right in order to achieve all kinds of health goals. We then spoke about the circadian rhythm. It is basically the body's biological response to sleep and wake cycles. Every cell in every tissue and every gland has its own circadian rhythm, which then controls the rate at which hormones are released, which control the rate at which we feel hungry, we feel full. How is the food that we're eating metabolized? How efficiently? How to optimize the circadian rhythm? Exercise increases the chief regulatory hormone, or melatonin. So please engage in lighter activities towards the later half of the day. Your heavy lifting can be kept in the morning. Exercise generally reduces stress. It increases insulin sensitivity. So make sure that you are two things. You're both physically active in the day, and you are engaging in at least 1 hour of structured physical activity, which is called as exercise. Food wise, I prefer fat first, followed by lunch, where you can have a slightly larger portion of carbohydrate compared to dinner. Snack can be a portion of fruit and nuts. It can be a cheese sandwich. It could be a dry fruit with unsweetened nut butter. It could be a protein bar. It could be a cup of yogurt, right? Stay away from the samosas and any of the processed packaged snacks that would be available very easily. I have also said keep your protein portions constant across all the meals. How do we get our body clock back on track? Increase the amount of melatonin rich foods in your diet. If you're non-vegetarian, increase your eggs and chicken and fish. If you are vegetarian, pistachios have a very high amount of melatonin, so include those in your diet. Then you have your capsicums, tomatoes, mushrooms, you have black rice, brown rice. Any sprouted lentils and beans will also do the trick. I've already said this: physical activity, easy cardio in the evening. Engage in activities which don't involve opening your eyes and concentrating on a bright object. So do more of yoga, do more of meditation, listen to audiobooks, do pranayam, engage in something which is going to open out all the other senses in your body. Yes, so I think I'm going to now, I have a list of questions which I have made, which are pretty popularly asked. So maybe Venkat, I could answer those first and then open it up to anybody who has questions.
Yes, Maitreyi. You
That
can
should work.
answer these questions and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, absolutely. So, is it important to have a big breakfast? You know, where I said on the first slide that the age-old adage is that you need to have a big breakfast, a smaller lunch, and a very small dinner. It is not very important to have any big meal, be it breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You always want to have a meal which has a controlled amount of carbohydrates, a controlled amount of protein, and a controlled amount of fat. Eating a very big breakfast will just cause very drastic fluctuations in your blood sugar levels. Okay, so you can eat a slightly higher amount of carbohydrates for breakfast as compared to what you can eat for dinner, but you don't have to go crazy with a big breakfast. That being said, if you are somebody who basically eats a big meal and then does not eat through the day, my suggestion would be to increase the protein content of that meal. If you are if you are somebody who's having, for example, not if you're somebody who has 6 slices of bread with butter for breakfast, you may want to reduce it to 4 slices of bread and have a bowl of dahi with it, or have 2 eggs with it, or have a paneer or tofu preparation with it. That way it is a balanced meal. It contains similar overall calories and your blood sugar is not spiking too high. And carry any of the aforementioned snacks to work, or when you're traveling. Protein bars are easy to carry, dry fruits are easy to carry, nuts are easy to carry. So think about all that. What should the time gap be between dinner and bedtime? It's usually 4 hours. It takes about 4 to 6 hours, for the food to digest. We are okay going to bed without completely digesting our food, but 4 hours is something that I definitely recommend. How to control snacking? So there are so many ways to address this question. If you sleep on time, then you will realize that the urges to eat anything and everything just because you're bored, just because the day at work is very stressful, will reduce. Basically, there are a lot of theories to snacking. If you sleep well, if you wake up feeling fresh, the cravings reduce. This is the first thing. The second thing is you have to identify what are your snacking triggers. Is it your brain trying to tell you to basically take a break from the task at hand? That is very important. If your brain is trying to tell you to take a break and you are interpreting the break as a snack, then maybe just going for a walk in the fresh air, listening to your favorite song, doing something completely unrelated to work for 5 minutes could also do the trick. The third way to control snacking is to increase the portion of protein in your meals. If you do that, protein has a very high satiety value of feelings of fullness. So the secretion of the satiety hormone leptin is quickest when it comes to protein and fat. So increasing the protein at major meals like breakfast, lunch, and dinner will help control these snack cravings. The fourth one, how clean is your mouth? I mean, it's very funny, but it actually works. So what happens is when we eat a meal which containing carbohydrates, some of them stay on our teeth, some food particles, and they ferment because there are salivary amylases or carbohydrate digesting enzymes even in the mouth. And those sort of trick you into thinking that now you need to eat something else. So maybe you could try this. Eat a large meal and then brush your teeth or carry a small mouthwash to work. If you feel like eating for no reason at all, you're not hungry, just gargle with a mouthwash and see if that feeling goes away. This is a question which I get asked a lot. Is intermittent fasting better than keto, better than 2 meals a day, better than a lifestyle diet? What is my opinion? So there has been a huge study conducted on this. So they basically recruited participants and they divided them into all of these diets. And the goal of the study was to keep them under observation for 6 months and to see who lost how much, and did one group lose more than the other, basically. No, they all lost similar amounts of weight. But what happened was levels of adherence. Certain diets had maximum dropouts because they were too hard to follow. If you are somebody who sees herself or himself sticking to an intermittent diet forever, indefinitely looking without thinking when is this going to end, then that is the diet for you. You always have to remember that elimination diets are not the best because they're going to produce nutritional deficiencies. For example, in a keto diet personally has not been studied for in anybody for more than 6 months. So we don't really have too much data there. It was used to basically treat special children or children with epilepsy. And then we have just made our own version of this, and we have realized that if we eat a little bit more fat, we feel full, and then we don't need other things. But what happens is keto diets are usually time restricted. If you can devise a diet wherein you are eating healthy, you're eating healthy protein, you're eating a bunch of vitamins and minerals through vegetables, and you're eating a slightly higher amount of fat, and you're doing this for a long time, and you can see yourself doing this forever, then that is the diet for you. In my opinion, lifestyle diets are always the best because they teach you rather than being to be independent rather than dependent on the diet. If it is a lifestyle diet, it's going to teach you how to eat at a party, how to eat at work, what to eat, what to order, so that those become lifelong or lifestyle based sustainable solutions. um, how to eat around exercise. Should we have a protein shake after a workout? A lot of us think that we don't need to eat before exercise and after exercise, and that actually burns more fat. Please understand, exercise by itself does not burn fat. Exercise by itself does not burn a significant amount of calories. It is the act, the behavior of exercise, and how we mold ourselves around the act of exercise for many, many times that will eventually improve our health, will eventually reduce the secretion of the hunger hormone, increase the secretion of the satiety hormone. If we don't eat before exercise, we are basically working an empty tank. So you're going to feel tired. You're going to feel like you don't want to do this. You're going to increase your chances of sprains, muscle sprains, muscle tears. You're going to increase your chances of getting low blood sugar and getting a blackout. So instead of that, please eat a small carbohydrate containing snack before the gym, because that is what you're using in the gym. Do you need a protein shake immediately after the workout? You don't, because you have not used protein during your workout. If you use protein during the workout, then you won't be able to stand up if we use so much protein. Exercise basically is a stimulus to build protein, not use protein. Okay, so protein shake can be had any time of the day. If you are somebody who finds it convenient to carry a shake of protein after workout, please add a fruit in it, or add a couple of dried fruits like dates or figs, or have a sandwich with it, so that you're having carbohydrates and you're having protein. If you only drink an isolated protein shake after a workout, please know that protein is going to go and get converted to carbohydrates, because the need of the hour by the body is to eat a higher amount of carbohydrates. So with that, I think we can answer any relevant questions. Should I be looking at the chat?
I'll help you out with that, Maitreyi. And thank you so much for the wonderful inputs that you have given to us. And I feel that all the audience here feel the same, that there are many key takeaways from the session. And in the meantime, I would like to take this opportunity to launch a feedback poll. And I request all the audience who are in the webinar to answer the poll that you see on your screens. This will actually help us to curate many more sessions like this and bring on very good trainers like Maitreyi on board. So while the feedback runs, we can move on to the Q&A section. So if anyone want to ask any question directly to Maitreyi, you can raise your hands so that I can move you to panel and you can ask your questions directly to her. And a couple of questions are there in the chat box, Maitreyi, I would like to give to you. So the question is, when I think too much or full concentrate on any work or project, I feel like eating even my stomach is full. How to avoid this? Because if I will eat, I will get acidity. If I will not eat, I cannot concentrate. Please help.
Now, this is a great question. I think it's by Dr. Sachin. So, you have to think about a couple of things here. Are you eating well before you start work? If you are waking up in the morning and logging onto your laptop, remember that your last meal has been dinner. So if you've not eaten before your work starts, your stomach has been releasing ghrelin like a lot, and you're not doing anything about it. So the hydrochloric acid in the stomach is going to just come up by itself because it has nothing to work on. So it is just traveling up the esophagus and it's giving you the acidity. So number one thing is, please eat a snack or please eat breakfast before you start your work. Now, if you feel like you've eaten your snack and you've eaten breakfast and there's a very difficult project where you have to concentrate, you cannot concentrate because your mind is traveling towards food. Two things you can do. This is your mind telling you that at the moment it's overwhelmed. When it's overwhelmed, and it's focusing on the task at hand, there's very little chance that it'll be able to digest whatever food you're giving it. So just disconnect, take a 5-minute break, just walk around the house or walk around your office or just climb a flight of stairs. Maybe if there's a balcony or if there's a ground that you can go to, just go and take a few deep breaths, increase the oxygenation to your brain, calm down, and then come. If this doesn't work, which it will work, but if it doesn't work, why don't you try drinking an electrolyte drink? You don't always have to eat something. It can be just buttermilk. You can drink buttermilk. You can drink coconut water. You can drink lime water salt. There are commercial electrolyte preparations like, those vitamin C tablets which fizz in water. You can carry those to work and you can sit sipping on those. You don't always have to eat. Third thing I will tell you is it always helps to identify what are the foods which are causing your acid reflux. Are they foods which are packaged processed like chuda, biscuits, or samosas, or chaat, or are they homemade foods? If you can identify the triggers, you can stay away from them. So please try these methods and then figure it out. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. Now we'll take the question from the audience. Abhimanyu, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Okay. So, hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm an early riser. That is, I get up around 5:30 a.m. So is it necessary for me to eat something in the morning before I start my exercise?
Yes, absolutely. So now again, this is a great question. And there are so many theories behind this because like I just told you that you wake up at 5:30 in the morning and your cortisol secretion is going to be high at that time, which means that there is a certain amount of sugar in the blood, right? So it depends on how you feel. If you are somebody whose exercise session goes better after eating a small fruit or a couple of dried fruits, please go for it. Because ultimately, we want to make sure that our exercise session does not get hampered. You don't feel lack of energy or you don't feel lazy or tired in the exercise session. Can you get away with doing a morning workout fasted? Yes. Will it be ideal to your muscles and will it be ideal for the exercise session? Maybe not. So I would say, Abhimanyu, eat a small snack, eat a small banana, eat a couple of dried fruits, and then go and hit the gym.
Okay, but how much before the exercise should I eat that?
Great question. So it's very relative. I have a gymnast who has curd rice in the afternoon and can do somersaults like half an hour later. But I have another runner who is so scared at the sight of food, even 2 hours before his run, he can't eat anything. So it all depends on you. The more easier the foods are to digest, the closer to your exercise timing you can eat them. So if it's like a banana is digested in your mouth only. It doesn't need to go into the stomach. So half an hour before is a safe strategy. Yeah.
Okay, and what about dry fruits?
Same.
Half an hour before.
Yeah, that is a safe strategy. You may be okay even eating them 10 minutes before. Try it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. And we have one more question in the chat box. Viraj is asking, why do I feel more productive during evenings and night? Is being night owl a real thing?
Yes, definitely. So it's just your habit. If you've always been, if you are somebody who studies late at night, who just prefers to be more awake late at night, yes, then you are a night owl. Does that mean that your melatonin secretion is not getting secreted? No, your physiological processes carry on. It's just your habit that has overpowered them. As long as you don't reach out to a pastry at 12 o'clock at night, you should be good.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer, Maitreyi. And we have one more raised hand, who is Mohammed Faiz. If you can hear me, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Mohammed Faiz.
There are other questions here, right?
Yeah. So the other question in the chat box is Vivekanandan is asking if 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. fat burning performance good, then option of doing early morning exercises are not useful for effective result.
You don't exercise to burn fat, Vivekanandan. You exercise so you increase your bone mineral density. You exercise so you improve your insulin sensitivity. So your body uses carbohydrates better. It is healthier. You improve your muscle tone. Exercise by itself does not burn fat. But if you exercise every single day for days together and you eat well and you sleep well, over time, you will use a little more fat than you would otherwise. So, please exercise whenever time permits. The fat burning hormone secretion is highest in the morning, does not immediately translate into how much fat we burn, because all of us have a lot of fat in us. So fat burning is a very slow process and it happens over time. So you can exercise at whatever time you feel comfortable. Just remember to do it every single day.
Thank you so much for that answer, Maitreyi. And there is an interesting question in the chat box. Jayashankar is asking, what do you recommend for children under 10 and under 14 on diet? Do children need any diet plans?
Children don't need a diet plan. They just need to eat the right foods. They need to eat healthy, home cooked food. If they're playing, which I highly recommend children, the WHO guidelines are 1 hour of intense physical activity for children. And if your child is playing, then you want to make sure that he or she is eating a small snack, just like us adults. Before playing, they are drinking enough water. Through the day, they are staying away from added sugar, and they are staying away from the junk food, which really does not positively impact their growth in any way. You also want to make sure that they're eating good quality protein. They don't really need a diet per se. They just need to be monitored, so that they're making the right food choices. And the beauty with children is that once you sit them down and you explain to them why they should do the healthy eating bit, then they understand. I think my highest compliance rates and my favorite clients to work with are small children. Yes, that's my answer. They don't need a diet.
Thank you. And one more question from Jayashankar. For people working in night shifts and certain odd timings, what food they consume during the working hours?
Yes, very good question. So realize one thing, that anything you eat when you're not supposed to eat is in some way going to work against you. Okay, when you are working late at night, and I just today before coming at 2 p.m. I had this girl who does only night shifts, and she was telling me that she orders waffles and she just ate a pastry, and she can't help it because she just needs to eat something sweet. So that is because your brain is trying to sleep, and because you're working and there's so much direct light hitting it, it's struggling to stay awake. And the secretion of cortisol is increasing because you're basically working. So you can try your best to eat healthy and minimize the damage. If you need to eat, if you are somebody who eats eggs, eating an omelette or eating 2 boiled eggs is a great idea. Eat the foods which promote secretion of melatonin. If you like eating a cheese sandwich, that's a great idea. If you are okay with just a cup of yogurt with no sugar in it, that's a great idea. You can have a sugar-free hot chocolate. So you can take half milk, half water. You can put just plain, no added sugar, like cocoa powder, and you can add a couple of drops of sugar-free if you want. And that, because milk will increase the secretion of melatonin, that is a good idea. If you are really craving for something like a chocolate or something sweet, then a portion controlled protein bar is a good idea. So all of those foods that you should not be eating. Don't eat fruits. Don't eat dried fruits. Those will promote sugar spike. Don't eat chocolates. Don't eat desserts, because you are just increasing the secretion of stress hormone, and you are further reducing the secretion of melatonin, which is the sleep regulating hormone. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. And now we can take a question from the audience. Rishabh, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and can ask your question.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically you said that the protein intake should be equally divided between 3 meals, right?
Correct.
So basically I go to gym after my office hours, that's around 8. So I have my protein shake at that time. So at that time it will be unbalanced, right? If you're getting what I mean, like at the night the protein intake will be higher as compared to morning and lunch.
Yeah, but it's just 20 grams higher.
Yeah, a scoop. So that's
Exactly.
considerable,
Right.
right? Not
Yeah.
a huge difference.
No.
Okay.
Please
That's
eat something though. Don't just have a protein shake, because it's going to be too much carbohydrates and then function as carbohydrates.
Yeah, I have a banana before and after. That's fine, right?
Good. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. And we have one more question in the chat box is, what are your views on not combination of protein at once? Example, chicken and dal.
So dal is not protein actually. Dal is more carbohydrate. A cup of dal is going to give you 30 grams of carbohydrate and 6 grams of protein. Okay. So chicken, on the other hand, 100 grams of chicken is going to give you 25 grams straight of protein. So dal is more a food which has carbohydrate, fiber, and B vitamins, and chicken is more a high protein, a complete protein containing food. Please have more than one protein at a meal. That's fine. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Maitreyi. And we have a interesting question. Nandisha is asking, is it good to take the Amway products like Omega multivitamin tablets?
So yeah, I saw that. Okay, so I think taking the multivitamin tablets by Amway called daily is a good idea. I think all of us could do with one multivitamin tablets. Taking unregulated omega-3 supplements is not a great idea, because too much of omega-3 can cause blood thinning, and we don't want that. So instead of taking an omega-3 tablet, please eat nuts, almonds, and walnuts. Flax seeds have a very high amount of omega-3. Include those a couple of times in your day. Take a multivitamin. I don't think, unless you are in a calorie deficit, unless you are exercising for more than 4 hours every day, that you really need an omega-3 tablet.
Yeah, thank you. And we have one more question from Aniket. Any tips for improving gut health?
Yes, absolutely. Sleep on time. Remove added sugar from your diet. So no cookies, no frappuccinos, no deep fried foods like samosa, anything basically available over the counter. Start with eating easy food. Start with rice, can be tolerated very, very easily by the gut. If you could eat a combination of rice, lentils, and yogurt, that is protein, it's probiotics, it's protein, and it is carbohydrate, and can be very easily tolerated by the gut. You also have to work with, you have to list down the things that you eat this and this is how I feel. Alcohol, a major gut irritant. Eating very, very late at night, a major gut irritant. Okay. So just list down a thing, make a list of things that are irritating your gut, and then work around them. Preferably, consult a nutritionist or a dietitian who specializes in gut health.
Thank you so much for that answer. And there is an interesting question that everyone is also, I think everyone is doing the same every day. The question asked by Debosmita Chakrabarti. I can have dinner only around 10:30 to 11:30 p.m. Then at what time should I go to sleep? Will a walk after dinner help?
if you can have dinner around 10:30, 11, what time should you go to sleep? Yes, you should at least leave an hour and a half after your dinner. A very easy walk after dinner will always help you. Open air will relax you. At dinner, you want to make sure that you're not having a dessert after dinner. You're not triggering any of your stress responses. You have a light dinner. You don't just because something of your choice is made, don't eat till you're full. You want to leave a little bit of margin there. Please go for a very easy 20-minute walk and leave about an hour and a half. And stay away from, I know it's very, very hard, but stay away from screens because you're already eating pretty late. So yes, walk, deep breathing techniques will help.
Thank you so much for that answer. And one interesting question from Harita. Is keto diet is suitable for special kids without epilepsy? Our psychiatrist completely contradicted keto diet.
Okay, so then you need to go to a neurologist, and this conversation I don't think is about whether keto. I mean, that's a completely different conversation for a different day. But please consult a neurologist and take it with them because this is a medical question. In some cases, it is suitable. In some cases, it is not. It also depends on the child's health.
And one more question is olive oil good compared to groundnut oil for cooking or fry?
Olive oil is not great for cooking just because of its properties. It is a better idea to add olive oil to salads. Groundnut oil is you can stick to groundnut oil for cooking. Make sure you change your oil with the changing seasons. Another thing I want to add is it doesn't really matter what oil you're using for cooking. You have to just use less of it. We don't need too much oil. We don't need too much ghee. We don't need too much butter in our diet in general.
Thank you for that answer. And one more question in the chat box is, I am facing issue when I try to drink more than 1 liter of water. I am start getting cold.
So you can try having warm water and you can try eating something with it. Eat a snack and then drink water. You're probably getting cold because your stomach is empty.
There is a question from Kedar Patel.
Yeah.
For weight loss, I have reduced sugar intake with daily exercise. I had a good sugar intake earlier. However, I am having more craving for sugary food. How to substitute this craving?
Yes. So if you have reduced your intake of added sugar in terms of eating packaged processed foods, having a lot of teas and coffees without sugar, that is a great thing to do. If you are feeling like you want to eat more sugar, that is, so your brain is very smart, right? It doesn't really want you to get healthy, so it's going to keep telling you to eat a little more sugar. It's going to try and make you happy. Another theory is that you're probably not eating enough general foods, which is why you keep feeling like you want to eat. If you've restricted your diet too much, if you're only having one roti and sabzi, you're probably just not eating enough. So if you feel like eating something high in sugar, you can have a protein bar, you can have fruits and nuts, you can have yogurt. In your meals, increase the amount of protein, increase the amount of lentils and fiber, so that the general quantity of food increases, but the calories don't really increase, and you still continue to be healthy. Yes.
Wonderful answer. And we have one more question. Does workout in the evening around 8 to 8:30 p.m. is bad for sleep routine? Because since last 2 to 3 months, I have doing workout in the evening. I noticed that my sleep cycle is disturbed and not getting enough sleep.
Yes, definitely. Because like I said, if you do a very intense workout in the evening, it is going to stimulate the release of your awake hormone, right? It's cortisol. So do your lighter workout in the evening, do an easy walk, do an easy swim, do your heavier workouts in the morning or in the afternoon, when the secretion of the hormone which prompts us to be awake and alert is higher. So yeah. So though not everybody is affected by this, some people get used to working out in the evening, but then their cortisol levels go up and then go down. But if you are somebody who is struggling with this, is struggling with having higher cortisol levels, then please consider moving your evening workout to morning. You could also try eating foods which are rich in melatonin after your workout, like eggs, chicken, paneer, and then see if that helps.
Thank you for that answer. We have a raised hand. Raghavendra, if you can unmute yourself, please ask your question.
Thanks, Venkatesh. I've been generally saying these days that older people have bone issues, that they have the question I was asking is like, what are the food and food other habits that we should have, so that we have a better bone strength during our old ages, so we could start having these habits right away, so that in the long run our bone strength is good and we don't face those old age bone issues.
Great question. The great question. So there are two things that we must do to keep the health of our bones or maintain a good bone mineral density. Eat a balanced diet. Eat foods which are very high in vitamins and minerals, because that is very, very important for our bones. Eat foods which have a good protein content. You don't necessarily need to drink milk, because as we grow older, as we cross our infant ages, we stop releasing the enzyme which actually digests milk, and then it could in some cases act as a pro-inflammatory. The bioavailability of milk is also very, very less, but you can have milk products, like you can have cheese, you can have paneer, a lot of lentils and a lot of vegetables and fruits are great for the bones. Nuts are fantastic. This is where the omega-3 comes into the picture. Seeds, nuts are very good for the bones. The second thing and the most important thing you can do to ensure good health of your skeletal system is exercise. You have to load the bones so that the bone breakdown is a very natural process that happens in our body, and there's also a bone building. So we want to make sure that the bone building is more than the bone breaking. If you're not active, if you're inactive, eating very healthy but inactive, it's not going to be as efficient as being active. So the bone building is taking over the bone breaking, and then in tandem with your healthy diet, you can have a good skeletal system. You want to reduce your, if anybody is smoking, that is really bad for your skeletal system. You want to reduce your intake of aerated drinks, because that is also not great for the health of the skeletal system.
Just to add to that question, like you mean to say we have to exercise, right? In one sense. So there are different sorts of exercise. Like we do light exercise, then where we are trying to burn a fat. The other is heavy intensity workouts, where we are which would be beneficial in general.
Again, exercise does not burn fat, Raghavendra, which I just said earlier. Please continue exercising to maintain your health. If you repeat these behaviors over time, along with a good diet, you will lose fat. You have to load your bones, right? So you have to engage in exercises which involve a certain amount of jumping. So running, walking on an incline, spot jogging, jump rope, skipping, lifting weights. All of those will load your skeletal system, and that's cycling, right? So those are good exercises.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Maitreyi. And one last question of the evening. So it is from Jaya. What is your comments on major protein source from groundnuts instead of protein shakes, scoops? As I read, eating more groundnuts will increase the thyroid levels.
Okay. Groundnut also is not a very rich source of protein. It is a little bit higher in omega-6 fatty acids. So, major protein source from groundnuts instead of protein shakes. You cannot compare a protein shake to a groundnut, because what happens is a protein shake is a complete protein. So, what makes a complete protein? There are 22 building blocks of a protein, which are called as amino acids. Okay. So these amino acids, you don't get them from the body, like the body does not produce them. So we depend on them for food. So that is why when you eat a protein source, when you call it a protein source, it is because it contains all of these 22 amino acids. Groundnut does not contain 22 amino acids, which makes it an incomplete source of protein. Okay, so please continue having good protein in terms of yogurt, in terms of paneer, in terms of animal products, eggs. Those are your complete proteins. If you are asking me about the relation of if you are somebody who's hypothyroid, or you know somebody who's hypothyroid, groundnuts may improve the health of your thyroid gland, but when it comes to increasing the release of thyroid stimulating hormone, that has not been medically proven. I have not read any credible research studies on that topic. Please talk to your endocrinologist. You or whoever you know who has hypothyroid, they would need to be on a pill which stimulates the release of the thyroid stimulating hormone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maitreyi, for answering all the questions. And once again, I thank you so much for agreeing to do this session for us. And also, I thank all the audience who have attended this session. I hope you had a very good session this evening and you have many key takeaways. And I feel that you all will inculcate all these things in your day-to-day routine. Thank you so much, Maitreyi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me here today. Happy to help always. Thank you.